Welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is Arman Margaryan, CEO of Factumsoft, a Yerevan-based software company that was founded in 2007 and has a staff of 17. Thank you for being here, Arman.
Thank you.
I have to be honest with you, the first time I heard the name of your company was after you made the viral post on Facebook announcing that you fully support your staff if they choose to participate in protests against then Prime Minister Serzh Sargsyan. Did anything specific prompt you towards that decision on April 20th, which was just 3 days before the Prime Minister's resignation?
Yes, I've been working in Armenia and in the United States in IT company, and throughout my experience working in Armenia, I felt that a lot of the youth, educated youth, works in IT sector. And my experience was that all of the people that I worked with, our employees, were very responsible civil citizens of the society, and they were actually worried about what's going on in their land. Unfortunately, many of my employees and colleagues, they had to immigrate, and many had left to Europe or to the United States. However, a significant portion of people are well connected to Armenia. They like a lot of positive things that exist in our homeland, and they wanted to change this. So in this period, our staff was there were a lot of debate, and I felt a lot of patriotism in a positive manner, where my employees were not comfortable staying at work anymore, and they felt that it is their civil duty to be on the street and protest against what's going on. And so one day I entered the room and no one was working, and they were just debating and watching the Facebook, and I said, look, our policy at Factumsoft is that if you have something that worries you at work, and especially in our sector, in creative sector, then you'd better go home and do your whatever you want to do, and then come back only at work when you can work, because work is not productive. And I said, hey guys, I mean, if you can't work, and it was obvious because inside of them was everything boiling, and I said, I support you. Go ahead, because there is no reason for you to stay at work. And not only I support their rights, their rights to protest and protect their civil, but I also shared their opinion, and I myself as a citizen as well. I'm not a citizen of Armenia, but I used to be a citizen of Armenia, and I felt that the rights of the human were violated by the controversial steps that the government did.
And what are the expectations of the IT sector from all the changes taking place currently in the country and after this movement comes to some type of a conclusion? Are there expectations?
Yes, there certainly are, and IT sector is a part of our nation and part of people as well. And I always reiterate in conversations with my employees and just friends as well, that we should not build too big of expectations. And there are, in our country, in the reality, there are some objective problems, and there are obviously subjective problems, and all we can do is solve some of the subjective problems. But even solving subjective problems, it's regardless who will be the prime minister. He is a person, he can make mistakes, and we should be realistic in our expectations, not to get disappointed afterwards, because what we have right now, the sense of national unity, is important to keep it, such that if we actually get to disappointment because of objective reasons, that's also not good. We're still gonna, take the path of immigration, and that's not right either. So we will have situation where from something positive, we still will have negative. And that's the dangerous part of what's going on today. And to me, all of the people leading the protests or actually supporting it have to be responsible and cautious in promising and building these expectations.
There's a sentiment that those in the IT sector are not so connected to the land, that they're more global and less local. But this was in some way contradicted with what we saw in the streets of Yerevan, which was a broad support on the ground by the members of the IT sector during the Reject Serzh movement. What do you say about that? Is it?
I'd say that it is correct that IT sector is more global, and the fact they were actually protesting so actively in defending their rights is something that is global. What I mean by global, if you look at the schools and movies and propaganda, whatever was propagated in Armenia, this is not something that these people actually showed. So I think the sense of that they have the right and they have to protest, that is something that they got globally. But Armenia is also a global country. I mean, we are, in a lot of ways, are a very good European country, and in some ways even better European countries. So these people, these IT people, a lot of them have traveled the world. I mean, they traveled through Europe, and they know how to compare. So with all the negative sides, our country has a lot to offer, and they don't want to go through difficulties of immigrating. They want to create their homeland a better place, being a part of a global society. Armenia has to be a global country, integrated, but we have to keep, not just live, but also build our nation, and we have done it. I mean, with all the negative things that were in politics, there were a lot of good economical progress. I mean, we have to say that as well. And to me, people were protesting, not so much because of economical difficulties, but because of injustice and an arrogant attitude by the governing elites. That's, to me, was the biggest factor of protests, because we've seen a worse economic situations in their countries, but people are not protesting because they understand. But in our reality, the protest was more about injustice, inequality, and arrogant attitudes by the governing elites towards their people. That's, to me, is the biggest motivation driving the IT sector, because especially IT sector, they're upper middle class of Armenia, I would call it, because they make enough money and they have good living standards. It's just the inequality that what drives them out to the streets. They want to see people around them happy as well. And they have that right.
And my last question, what is your message to heads of companies in other sectors?
Okay. I think my message would be the following. Again, I'm not going to call them and say, hey, drive your people to streets. That's not right. And my move was not as much political, but as economical. I'm a businessman, and business is first. But in IT sector especially, people are everything. Factumsoft is our team. And if it's worse, if we have bigger team, our company is bigger. If I have smarter team, Factumsoft is smarter. So when you are leading a team in IT company, it's important for you to feel the pulse of your organization and your team, and make sure you actually respond to motivating factors of your team.
And this goes for all companies.
That goes for all companies, but it is especially important for IT sector, where the mood and atmosphere is important, because it's a creative work. In non-creative work, that's not as much applicable as in IT. So my message would be to always talk about things that worry your team. Now, in the current context, that's a political atmosphere. Maybe in a couple months or a year, that would be something else. Maybe there is injustice going on in your small region or in company decisions. So it is important to feel the pulse, react to the demand, and ensure the creative atmosphere. Now, in this case, I think it was important, and I've seen it not only in Factumsoft, but I've seen in a lot of companies as well. Many have done it silently without publicizing it like I did in Facebook. Whatever you feel important for your team, react to it. That's my message.
Thank you, Arman.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more conversations about the current events in Armenia.